Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined by Dakota Lasky. Dak, how you doing? How was your Christmas?
It was, all things considered, it was pretty good. As I was telling you before the show, my Christmases and my family are pretty small, and this was no different. It was just my immediate family, me, my sister, and my parents. That was it. So it was very, very, very small. I quarantined beforehand. So did my sister and my parents. So all good there. And I got a couple cool things. I'm 27 and a half. Getting clothes and socks is hype for me. I got some cool things. I got like these really comfy Adidas like sandals with like the massage bottoms, which are nice. I got this cool Halo Oni iridescent jacket, which is really cool, and a shotgun mic for my camera. So it was not bad. Actually, my favorite gift, which was really cool, my sister gave me some of our old, like, she had a bunch of old DS and Game Boy Advance games we used to play as a kid, and she gave me all those.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was really cool. So that was awesome. Like, my sister's not like a huge gamer, but she would game with me, and it was cool, like, seeing those games and being able to go back to those old game files and whatnot. So that was really nice. And yeah, so it was nice, low key, nothing exciting, and tried to keep it as safe and locked down as physically possible. So yeah, it was nice to see some family too. Though I just saw them on Thanksgiving, but I mean, especially with the quarantine and all that, I haven't seen my family pretty much all year, so it was nice to see them. But yeah, mine was pretty good, all things considered. How was yours?
Can't complain either. It was very small. It was just my wife and I. Not allowed to see anyone else right now, unfortunately, but that was okay. So we were just doing some stuff around the house. I got a couple games for Christmas. I got Pikmin 3, which actually I already crushed. I beat Pikmin. God, I love Pikmin. It's so fun. And I got Ghost of Tsushima, Crosscode. So, I got a lot of good stuff to play and some other... I got some socks, too, and I was legit hyped when I got them because they're, like, thermal socks, and it's freaking cold here.
Love that.
So, yeah, it was pretty good, all things considered. One thing that wasn't good is we tried to do an episode twice last week, and we had technical difficulties both times, so we are sorry for not getting you an episode last week. We'll make it up to you at some point here, and we'll get you the that episode about the... We were doing the cut content episode, and we were like halfway through, and we had some snafus, so we'll come in and make it up for you guys down the line. But for today, we are going to be diving into not Metroid, but an inspired by Metroid game, and I'm fired up about this one. I finished it a couple days ago. Dak, I think you've been playing it all day, and this is kind of funny because I bought this game like probably about a year or 2 years ago, and I played it for about like 2 hours, and I kind of put it down, and I never picked it back up. So I'm very happy that we finally got to finish Guacamelee. So I'm hyped.
I'm hyped. Like you said, I was playing it today. In fact, I played the entirety of it today just to be as fresh as I possibly could. I don't know if there's a difference really, because I picked up the Super Turbo Championship Edition on Steam, and I don't know.
Yeah, I've got that too.
Okay, so I don't know if that like has any kind of difference, but we played the same version, so that's cool. Yeah, this game, I just want to start off by saying I know that we've played some other games and now are inspired by Metroid series so far. And I want to say that I even think Blasphemous was my favorite in the games that we've played so far. I guess, Arkham Asylum is really good too. The Arkham game we played, and that's like a classic Batman game. But I think my favorite inspired by Metroid game that we've played so far has to be Guacamelee after playing this game. I am ashamed that it took me this long to play it all the way through. I remember when it first came out and it got really, really great reviews. It got a sequel, and I just didn't play it. I don't know. I'm just lazy, and I just play multiplayer games a lot of the time, and I don't try enough things. So I'm very glad that we do this because it gets me to try more of these kinds of games. And wow, is this game so damn good. I loved Guacamelee. I'm very excited to talk about this because this was my favorite game we've played so far. And not only that, this version of the game is on sale on Steam for $2 at the moment until I think like a week or two into January. So if you don't have this game, listen to this episode. Let us tell you about how great it is, and then go pick it up for $2 on Steam. I mean, that's an absolute steal right there for such a high quality game. So yeah, I can't wait to get into this. I'm very happy we played this because so far it's my favorite.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't say it's my favorite inspired by Metroid so far, but this game for $2 is an absolute steal. It's a bargain. It's a really really fun game, and I had a really good time with it. I feel like an important part for me of kind of the smaller indie Metroidvania games is that they don't overstay their welcome, and this was right in that sweet spot. I put 9.5 hours into the game, and I did like almost everything that you can do. So like I feel like I got everything out of it, but it wasn't like an insane time commitment either. You know what I mean? Which I feel like is important for me because I'm like, like we're all super busy doing everything. So like I just like a nice crisp experience, and I'm totally like as the saying goes, I'm totally okay paying more for a shorter game. So it really hit the sweet spot for me. And you know what? Yeah, I don't know what took me so long to finally finish it, because the first time that I played it for like a couple hours, I was like, you know what? This is really fun, and it really doesn't hide its Metroid influence at all. It wears it very much on the nose, and it's kind of awesome actually. So I guess let's get right into it. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm ready. Let's do it.
So first and foremost, Dak, I have to tell you that I had Juan go all Hitman on us here. So I'm from Calgary, Alberta, right? So I'm up in Canada. So I had Juan dress up in pink for the Hitman colors, Calgary, Alberta. I was repping it the entire game. He was dressed in pink, and he looked super cool. So I just had to throw that out there.
Oh yeah, I liked all the different costumes. That was one of my favorite things about this. Was you got to pick up these cool costumes on the way for both characters you could play as too. And I bought as many of the costumes as I could. Like I got like the chicken costume and the piñata and all that. I loved like leveling up my suit. Even if it was just purely aesthetic, I thought that was fine. I thought it was cool to have a different look for your guy like throughout the game.
You know what? I never bought a single other costume actually. Like I didn't know that you had to buy them. I thought you just unlocked them somehow, and I kept on like waiting to unlock them, and I never like got around to it.
Yeah, no, you buy them at the shop. So like there are those silver coins you'll get like out of the big piñatas, and you'll use that to buy your costumes. I as far as I remember, I don't think there was another use for them, so I just spent them as often as I could. But I could be wrong. But I bought all the costumes at the shop anytime there was one available to me.
I spent 10 hours in this game, and I never went to the shop once. So that's probably
You never went to the shop once. There are tons of shops all over the place.
Nope. I went to the I did when you save or whatever. Like I bought all the combos. I maxed out all of my combos and stuff like that, but I never bought a costume.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or maybe I was just doing it wrong. I don't know. But yeah, so I bought all my combos, but I never bought any of the other costumes or whatever. So I rocked the Bret Hart pink for like literally the entire game, and I'm okay with that.
I mean, that's not a bad thing to do unless you're from WCW, because
yeah, we don't want WCW Hitman.
WCW Hitman wasn't that good. No, not that it was his fault.
No, yeah, we don't talk about that in Calgary.
Yeah.
So like tons and tons and tons of Metroid references, but I mean also just like tons of like video game references in general.
Mm-hmm.
You immediately when you open up the game, the first of all, I guess before we get there, let's talk about the aesthetic of the game. You're playing as Juan, and you're like a luchador, and you're trying to rescue your typical damsel in distress, and you're in this like version of like this Mexican aesthetic, and like did they ever name the city that you're in? I can't remember.
Well, there are a bunch of cities, like
little towns.
Yeah, there's
a
bunch of different towns that all have different names, and there's like San Juanico and stuff like that. Like there are all these different little towns. You have like the desert, the canal, all these different locations. I obviously we're both wrestling fans, so this immediately like spoke to me. I thought that lucha stuff is really cool, and being a wrestler in like a Metroidvania kind of game is really awesome. I love like the candy skull and Mexican and the Mayan kind of Aztec like mixture of influences like playing around in the environment. I really awesome. And of course when you're switching between the world of the living and the realm of the dead, it changes how the world looks as well. Some things are glowing, the rain's purple on one end, and awesome stuff. The game, it looks really beautiful, and I think it's one of the best. Like this is the thing, is that I shy away from a lot of indie games because graphically they don't they don't really speak to me, or they're like too pixely, and they like are more like for people who are nostalgic for like SNES games or something like that, which really for me doesn't do anything. But this game looks so cool and has a very distinct style that I feel like is all unique in and of itself, like all to its own in this game. So like it really stood out to me. I think they really nailed it, and like giving this game like the actual environment and the look of the game its own kind of like character, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that the world does look really nice. I really like the vibe of like the luchador kind of aesthetic. You see kind of like the silly like title card.
Oh yeah, those are
things
so
everywhere,
good.
which
I
is
love
fantastic.
those. Yes.
My favorite one was actually there was one of them where you can see somebody wearing Majora's Mask in like one of the title cards, and I was like, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that like the whole aesthetic is really really well done. It does look really nice.
It pops too.
It's obviously it's not like the most graphically impressive, but the style is one of the timeless kind of styles that like you can. It's almost like the Wind Waker, where like the version of the artwork that they went with is kind of set to stand the test of time. So it still looks really great, even though it's like probably a 5-6 year old
game. I mean, yeah, but this game, exactly. This came out like 2014, and this game I think could have come out in 2020 and be on par with other indie games for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks really really nice.
Yeah.
I as a wrestling fan and somebody that used to be really into like the cruiserweights back in old WCW, I was like, this is pretty cool. I'm digging the whole overall vibe. I'm digging the aesthetic, and I do love that. It sounds like a game that is about like luchadors and wrestling and set in Mexico. Probably wouldn't have a lot in common with Metroid, but like it really does. There is a lot of, visually, there's a lot of just like callbacks and little Easter eggs to tons of other series. Like I spotted Super Mario references. I spotted Pokemon references, Zelda, Mega Man.
Yeah.
Even I found the secret room with Q*bert.
There's a Q*bert one. There's a Cactuar from Final Fantasy statue. There's a Homestar Runner poster. There is a couple other ones too that are just straight up like just references to other Castle Crashers. There's a reference to that as well. There's tons of them, and of course, obviously, the Metroid references are super obvious. I mean, you have like Chuzu statues, which are obviously Chozo statues. You have like Metroids in the back. Even a lot of the rooms in some areas are just straight up rips from areas in like other 2D Metroid games. Like if you were walking through, you'd be like, "Wow, I've been in this room before. I've been in this room before. I've been in this room before." But it doesn't like feel like it's biting it. It's kind of like doing its own take. But like a lot of the structure of some of the rooms are like straight up ripped from Metroid, which I'm not complaining about because it doesn't dominate the level structure for sure, but there are a couple paths here and there and routes that are right from the Metroid games, and it's like, oh, I feel right at home there with some of these paths.
Absolutely, and like we'll get into this a little bit later, but I feel like a lot of the power ups and the upgrades and stuff that you get are basically Metroid.
Oh yeah, that
but
too.
They're reskinned to be in this game. But yeah, the Chuzu statues are fantastic. They're right on the nose. That's how you get your power-ups. And, like, you just shatter them, and there's this old goat guy that comes out and starts yelling at you every single time that you break them, which is kind of funny. I will say this, though, Dak. Sometimes the game's humor didn't always work for me. Like, sometimes it was a bit too cheesy and too corny. Like, I think the first time that he yelled at you for breaking the statue was funny, and then the second time was funny, and then the third time was like, yeah, okay, I get it. There's a lot of like very kind of breaking the fourth wall kind of humor in here, and some of it lands and some of it doesn't. I think for me I feel yes and no on that, and agreeing and disagreeing with you on there, because I remember when we talked about our previous Metroid or inspired by Metroid games, and one of my complaints was they're always so like gory and grotesque and super serious and all that. And I was very happy with this game because it doesn't take itself seriously whatsoever. All the dialogue is very tongue-in-cheek and sarcastic and fourth wall breaking. And while some of the jokes kind of got ran into the ground a little bit, it was refreshing because I thought it was pretty amusing for the most part. There were some parts that are the humor is kind of aged. Like there's a meme face, like the older meme faces, like before memes were really memes, like the Me Gusta face is on a sign, and like there's a bunch of references to like awesome sauce, which I don't think anyone has said in like half a decade. So like some of that humor has definitely aged out a little bit, but
I thought it was really refreshing because I'm so used to these Metroidvania games like being like these really violent and gory and super dark kind of experiences, that it was nice to have everything be light and, you know, fun and not super serious. And even like when someone's, you know, there's a damsel in distress and there's a bunch of different bosses, even the bosses are, you know, joking around and all of that. So I personally, I get what you're saying, and I agree. There are a couple of jokes of like, okay, I got it, but it never really like detracted from the experience for me too much. And in fact, I thought it was really nice to have that kind of humor all the time, and that's, you know, have it be nice and chill and light rather than like really heavy, which all the other games we've played really are. So overall, I would say I really enjoyed like the style in terms of like the tone and the seriousness or lack thereof of this game.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. It doesn't take itself seriously at
At
all,
all.
which I feel like I feel like can be good, but if you like at the same time, it can also take away a little bit from your adventure. And not that this adventure should be like, you know, this brooding quest for whatever. But yeah, sometimes the humor didn't work for me. Maybe it is because it aged a little bit. But you know, I do have like a pocket of small critiques like that, but they don't really like they don't detract from my overall enjoyment of the game. I did have a really fun time. I can't put over like the world enough. I really enjoyed exploring all of the different worlds.
Yep.
Some of the areas I feel like blended in a little bit together, and maybe that was just because of like the music. The music was really awesome, but it kind of blended together for me as well.
Yeah. I agree with
Which
that.
is like, I don't know if that's a critique or not actually, because like the music that was playing was like really nice, but it just kind of felt the same throughout the whole. Like, and maybe we're just used to like very distinct musical pieces for different areas, right? And this one was like kind of the game had a theme of music versus like each area having its own kind of theme.
Yeah, there were definitely some times where like the music would stay upbeat like for a long time, and like I'd be like, okay, I'm kind of sick of this track.
Yeah.
But there were a couple other times that I was, you know, the music gets a little like lower tempo and a little, you know, smoother and quieter, which was nice. I do agree that there weren't like too many distinct tracks, but I felt like it was all really good music, and it did blend together. But I think that was more
Mm-hmm.
of a positive of the game at times, because it never really felt like there was any like unmemorable, like there weren't any parts where I was like, oh yeah, this music is like bad, or like like could be better. Like I liked it. I think
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it all like it meshed together really well. It did kind of blend together a bit, but I think that's not too bad. I really like the music. It had its own distinct style. Like there's really like a horn heavy, which I really like. But at the same time, there are some other parts where it gets like really like electronic and more gamey, which I thought was cool too. And it kind of blends those two styles together. So like, you know, you have like kind of like the mariachi style and like this kind of like lower like horn, you know, tracks kind of working into like those deeper areas you're going to explore, and then like the gamey, like not, I don't know, it's not pixelated, but just like more video gamey sounding music. It has like a lot more like synths and all of that. So I thought it was really good. I thought the music in this really matched the game, though I can't really say that like I could like think of a standout like track, so to speak, because everything did blend in so much. But I thought they did a really good job with it.
I think that that's the thing right there is like the music sounds really nice while you're listening to it, but like as soon as you put it away, it's just like
Yeah.
I can like recall like the generic like horn sounds or whatever, but yeah, it wasn't like it didn't really help me distinguish the areas from another. This is kind of like the same thing that I thought the Blasphemous had, where like the
Yeah.
music while you were listening to it, it was really good, but it wasn't like necessarily super distinctive. It kind of like blended together throughout the whole game, which
Yeah.
I feel like is kind of the case here.
I think
Um,
just
but that
before we move on from that, I just wanted to. I was thinking about this too, real quick. I think one thing that, you know, we have kind of expectations for music for Metroidvania games, but I think we have to remember that like a lot of the Metroid tracks that we like think it was really distinctive. Like they've shown up multiple times across multiple games, you know, and I've had like remixes or like different variations. So I think it's a lot easier to remember them, you know, because we played all those games and they've been around for a while. I think if like there were, let's say, 6 or 7 Guacamelee games, right? I think after having played those over, let's say, 20 years, like Metroid, if that were the case, hypothetically, more of those tracks, if there was like a signature like theme, so to speak, would probably stand out more. It's just that, you know, we've played one Guacamelee game, right? Like maybe if we played the second one, there might be a couple tracks that stand out more. That being said, I still think that there aren't like too many distinct themes. Like it could go a little farther in being more distinct. So, but yeah, I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, I don't know that I would agree with that. I think you can still have a game that you play once and it's like music really sticks
Yeah,
with you.
agreed.
I know that you kind of think the music is a little too video gamey, but like I love the soundtrack for Axiom Verge. It's like so kind of pixely and robotic that it always really stuck out to me. But yeah, I mean that is a fair point. We have heard Red Brinstar a million times over. So I will say that two areas of this game really stuck out to me as being particularly fun. And if you have any areas, chime in with them as well, Dak. But the first area that I really was just like, okay, this is really cool. It feels really awesome. It feels really unique. Was the Sierra Morena, which is like basically a mountainous range where like you have to use your abilities to like traverse. There's a lot of really great puzzles in there. You're kind of flying across chasms and stuff like that. It was really kind of platforming, like more so than your typical Metroidvania game.
Yes.
And I was all for that. And then kind of on the other side of that, I thought that El Inferno was like really fun because it was basically just like little mini challenges that you can get gold medals in if you're good enough. So I went back there and I did all of the challenges. I got 10 gold medals and I think like a couple silvers in there. So it was just kind of like a culmination of like all the skills and whatever that you've acquired throughout the game and like little it was almost like not a boss rush mode but something similar in that vein. So those two areas to me really stuck out. El Inferno in particular, El Inferno, easy for me to say, was kind of cool too because it was like the devil's hideout and it was like this like office building or whatever. And it was very like charming, I thought. So I liked that one a lot in particular.
I know the one that I really liked the most was the Temple of War area because that I feel like that was such a good like test of all of your abilities and it like you said amplified a lot of like the need to be really good with your platforming, which I love about this game. I love about like how platform heavy it is. It really requires you to be smart about like what resources you have, like your jump, eventually your double jump. You also have, this is one thing I love too, is that a lot of the areas required you to like to be creative with using your specials as means of moving around and getting to certain areas too, right? Like trying to like, I would be finding myself like trying to get to places, double jumping off a wall, doing like a reverse like dragon punch to get up to a corner, and like that I loved. I loved how you could get creative with the different special moves you get to like traverse these areas. And then the Temple of War, you have all these like the spinning like saws and the moving walls you got to cling to and slide down and jump from. And I absolutely loved how that area and a bunch of other areas too, make great use of the dimensional like change, right? The dimensional shift, like forcing you to, hit that button as your mid jump to make a wall appear and then jump to the other one and make the wall reappear and disappear to get through things. And then you're, jumping through thorns as you're hitting your block and all that. Like so well designed. I loved it. It was so good. It wasn't just like I'm running around and I'm mashing on an enemy and then I go to the next area. Like I gotta be smart and jump around and get creative and use my movement. That like spoke to me as a gamer. It spoke to me. So the platforming design is so good, and I think the Temple of War was really solid and kind of exemplifying how well the game design was in this title.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that when like Guacamelee is doing the interdimensional platforming is when it is at
so
its
good.
best.
Yeah, absolutely agreed.
And there's like a lot of stages or like I guess trials or whatever where like you are using your abilities to like run up walls. You have to quickly like and it's nice too because like you can swap the dimensions at like a click of a button and it's really responsive. Like there's no lag, there's no nothing. And both dimensions look like very distinct and very beautiful too as
and
well.
Sound different
so,
too.
Yeah, they do. It's very well done. I think that like when you're like really quickly doing like dimensional like swaps like that is when it really gets awesome. Temple of War was great, especially when you get like your goat jump and stuff like that. You can really get the platforming going. I would agree that I wrote that down in my notes actually. It's like when this game is like mixing dimensions and stuff like that, that's when it's at its best. I'm gonna say something though that I feel like you're gonna kind of dump all over.
Okay.
But I don't really like the emphasis that this game puts on combat, which I like. Okay. It's all about like combos and stuff like that, and whatever. Like it's fun, and like actually fighting people is fun. You can grab them, you can throw them, but like it's too much for me. Like it's the same thing over and over and over. It's the same enemies over and over and over. It's the same fights over and over and over. It was a little bit too much. There wasn't enough enemies. There was too many times where like you're stuck in a room and it's like, okay, let's fight and like let's get this over with. That was when I thought that Guacamelee was at its worst for me, is when it was like a real emphasis on like combat. Like, yeah, it's really cool that you can use all of these moves and stuff like that, but like to me, like when I'm playing a Metroidvania game, like I want to explore, I want to platform. I don't necessarily want to like, pull out a Street Fighter combo with like 16 different buttons. So that was a weakness for me.
You're a cap and crunch right here. That was one of the best parts of the game, especially as a fighting game player. I was like, this is so good. Like, it wasn't even just like, at first I was like, okay, this game's gonna be really simple. Like, you have like, XXX button combo and then a couple like a launcher, and that's about it. But you can get really creative with the combos. You can link a bunch of your specials together off of your regular normals into other specials. You can use your dodge roll to extend a combo after you've launched somebody. You can use your ground slam immediately after like a launcher, after another launcher. You can continue like multiple launchers in the air. You can use your grab as an invincibility frame, the invincibility frames of your grab to keep yourself safe while you're comboing somebody when there's a bunch of enemies. You don't have your roll accessible. 100% disagree. This game was so well made in terms of the fighting. It feels like, okay, like it's a little more complex than like Smash Bros, but it's not Street Fighter. You don't have to do like quarter circle forward or anything. But if you're smart and you can remember your timings and all that, and you get a little, more used to which buttons are good when, you can do so many good things and clear out rooms like so well. Like, I love that. I love getting locked in with like, all right, I'm about to beat up some dudes and go ham and just like start hitting buttons. And it's such a nice like mixture of really hard or really solid and streamlined, sometimes difficult platforming, and then other times where you're just going ham and just beating down on people and suplexing and pile driving and doing all these combos. Like, and honestly, I don't think the combos are really, at least, and I'm not a skilled fighting game player very much, and especially not from traditional fighters, so I don't think any of the combos were particularly hard. So like, if you could play Smash Bros, you could play this, and I think that was one of the places
I don't think they're hard either. They're just like repetitive.
Well, they're repetitive because that's how you did it. They're not repetitive if you get creative with it. And the game gives you all the tools. Like, you could run into every room and mash the dodge roll and your normal punch, and you could probably win. And you'd be like, well, that's really boring and repetitive. Well, yeah, obviously. But I didn't find it repetitive at all because I get to use all my moves and all these different kind of combinations and to keep myself alive. And then you're switching between the dimensions to fight, characters that are silhouettes and not silhouettes and are, tangible or not tangible. I thought this game was so excelled at those areas because it gives you so many tools to be creative and make it a lot of fun, but also be more efficient in terms of clearing a room or keeping yourself safe or dodging stuff. So 100% disagree. I think that's one of the best parts about this game. Why I loved it so much.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's the weakest part of the game. It's just like, you fight the same 10 enemies from the start of the game to the end of the game.
Yeah, but it's not like you're fighting the same enemies, though, because like you have eventually they get shields.
Just upgraded versions of the same enemies. It's just like, it's okay, but like to me, like I don't really care about doing combos or anything like that. I just want to explore the map. So like constantly having to stop exploring, to pause, to fight, using the same moves over and over, and like it's not like the game gives you incentive for using combos or anything. Like, you don't get a better reward if you use combos. You still get the same balloon after you're done the fight. So like, whatever, right?
But like, you shouldn't need an incentive to do better combos. I think the fun is coming up with cool ways to fight your enemies and be better at it. Not because the game gives you a higher score, gives you better collectibles by doing a better combo. I think that was one of the nice things about the game, is that it's not like it doesn't pigeonhole you into doing a certain combo or something to get like the best reward or squeeze out the best part of a battle. It gives you the option to do it however you want, and either you can go into it and do the same repetitive thing over and over again, and that's your experience, or you could do it in all these cool, different, fun ways. Because it's not like Metroid doesn't lock you into rooms and gives you these. I mean, if anything, Metroid has it worse because there are a bunch of games in Metro, or a bunch of instances in 2D Metroid games, especially, where you're locked into a room and you have the same fight with the same enemies doing the same jumping around and shooting your gun that you do in all the other rooms. At least this game gives you way more tools and way more different stuff to do, and it feels way more like exciting and way more compelling to me than I think in a lot of ways Metroid has ever done it. So I definitely 100% disagree, and I like the exploring too, but it was nice to mix it up because I don't want to always just run around and explore stuff. I want to beat the crap out of some stuff, especially in a game called Guacamelee. Because
I respect that,
yeah.
but like,
I thought that was great.
I would hate if Metroid like locked you in a room, and it doesn't.
It does,
I don't
though.
think it locks you in a room as much.
Maybe
as
not
you
as
say,
much.
but, like,
Maybe not as much
imagine,
as this game. Fair.
Oh, definitely not as this game locks you in a room probably every 3 minutes with enemies.
Yeah, that's fair.
If not more. But imagine if you were in a room in Metroid and like you had to do like ridiculous combos to advance. I would hate that.
I would enjoy it more if it gave me more opportunities to get into combat situations and be more creative with the tools I have. I would probably enjoy the Metroid games more. So that's something I would love to see in future Metroid games. Lock me in with some more enemies, give me some more ways to fight them, and let me get creative. So
well, see, and therein right there is the difference, and why this was not like my favorite inspired by Metroid that we've done is because it was too combat heavy. I didn't like doing all the combos. I mean, you're right. It's not like the combos are hard to do. It's just like there's no incentive to doing them other than to amuse myself. And like I don't care about that. So
it's
I just
the
want
glory,
to get out of there.
the glory and the power, bro. Don't you want to like go into a room and just like?
No, I don't care about that. Who cares about that? Nobody.
I mean, that's tons of people do clearly because this game is very successful, and I'm talking about it. I think a lot of people do. I think that's
yeah. my point is that it doesn't that didn't speak to me as the type of gamer that I am. And
right.
Like, coming from Metroid where it's not, there's not an emphasis on combat as much. I was just like, I wish I could fast forward this, or I wish I could skip this and just get back to exploring this really beautiful world that it's laid out. So that was my biggest critique of the game, and the thing that held it back the most for me is just like, and again, it doesn't ruin the experience by any means. Like, it is fun to kind of throw enemies around and whatever, but like, it's just like, it's hard to build momentum when you're stopping to fight like very frequently. So I think the game's at its best when it's platforming, and when you're locked in a room fighting, I think that it loses a little bit for me. But you know what? I mean, again, it's not like it ruins the experience. It's just I wish it would have been a little bit less of an emphasis on it, or maybe like more incentive to do something different and mix it up a little bit. Because like, for me, I'm just like, well, I don't care. I just want to clear this room.
Yeah, and to go back onto a point you made earlier, actually, when you were said like, oh, this game doesn't like overstay its welcome, which I agree, and I like that I could beat it in a day. At the same time, I was wishing it was way longer. I wanted way more of this game. That's why I'm gonna go play the second one, because I was like, damn, this game could be so much bigger and so much longer, and I would enjoy it just as much. I would love to like spend way more time in the world and fighting these enemies and all of that. And I was actually not disappointed, but when I realized, okay, I'm getting to the end of the game and it kind of came a little quicker than I was expecting, I was actually hoping this game would be longer than it is, but it's probably for the best that It's the length that it is. Still, I wish there was way more of it, because I loved every ounce of this game. I really did. So I can't wait to play the second one.
Did you do the El Inferno challenges?
I dabbled, but I didn't get like 10 medals like you did. I kind of just like beat like the main like story. I did a couple actually, and that's actually gonna bring my next point. The quests, like the small little things you can do for people. I feel like I skipped over almost all of those because they really had no influence on me progressing in the game. So I think that was probably the weakest part, where I never felt compelled to like find the band and put the band together, or find the girl's action figure and all that, because I just want to go around and beat up stuff.
Oh,
I didn't care about any of that stuff.
The best reference in this game is when you're looking for that girl's lost brother, and it's Error from Zelda 2. That was
wow.
fantastic.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have a really great way to check your side quests.
No,
To be fair.
that was another thing too. Is when I realized that the only way for me to do these quests is literally just like remembering them, and like I talk to someone and I'm on the quest. That's when I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not doing any of these because I can't. There's no way for me to keep track. There's no way for me to like really like organize what I'm doing, and there was also really that had no incentive to me. I'm not so in terms of games, I'm not someone who just goes on side quests. If it's not important to like the main game or it's not super compelling, I'm probably not going to do it. And I wish there was more of an incentive, or at the very least a better like means of like
Right.
managing the quest that would have probably made me want to do them more.
I agree. Yeah, it was because like I am the guy that does all the side quests. So to me, it was just like, okay, like what do I have to do again? Where do I
Yeah,
have to go?
exactly.
Who do I have to see? Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. I have one more minor critique, and then the rest of my stuff is pretty much all glowing praise here. But I will say, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, I think that the boss battles were just okay. They weren't like
Yeah.
fantastic. I thought that one of them was really fun, where like you're fighting the three skeleton musicians.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that that one was pretty fun, but like otherwise, it was just kind of like a regular fight, but like a little bit more intense. If that makes
No,
sense.
I definitely agree. I don't think the boss battles were bad, but they kind of just felt like other enemies.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
never
yeah.
really felt like, oh, this is a boss battle. I think the only one that, well, I'm trying to think. The what was her name? Zyba, the lady, the woman. That's like the main bad guy's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
girlfriend for a while. I don't know. That boss battle was pretty good because like that one had the attacks that you can't dodge, like the purple aura ones. So like that one you kind of had to be a little more on point. And I did like the Flamehead one. I thought that one was pretty good, but I liked Flamehead as a character, or Flameface, whatever his name was. I thought he was a cool character, so I liked that fight. But yeah, they never felt like these like standout hard battles. Like they almost went by like as quick as normal battles would. In fact, I think there were some normal battles that were longer than some of the boss
Yeah.
battles. You'd be locked in a room with enemies just constantly spawning. Meanwhile, you get like one boss and I just beat the crap out of it. Okay, it's dead. In fact, I don't think the difficulty of this game really came from the combat at all. So that's probably why the boss battles didn't feel particularly bossy. The difficulty in this game, I think, really comes from the platforming, and the combat is more so just for you to feel awesome and fight, which is why I like it because I never felt like weak. I always felt like I was at like peak primeness and I was like constantly beating the crap out of everything, which I loved about this game. I felt like strong the entire time, but that meant like the boss battles kind of came off as not as hard as they probably could have been. So I agree with you there. I think the boss battles could have been improved.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that I did absolutely love, because like when I play video games, I'm a collector, right? Like I like to collect stuff.
Right.
I really do love that they kind of go like the Zelda and kind of infuse it with Metroid route, where like you can find all the like collectible heart pieces or the stamina pieces or whatever. I loved like finding those along the world. I should also point out too, I've said this multiple times before about Metroidvania games, but like I really feel like it's really important for a Metroidvania game to have a really good map and a really accessible map. And Guacamelee's map is fantastic.
Yes.
It's easy to navigate. It's easy to understand. You can zoom in, zoom out. This sounds really basic, but it's really crucial to just how important a good map is to like a Metroidvania game, especially if you're going to be going after like all the collectibles. And there's a ton of collectibles to get. There's like tons of heart pieces. There's tons of the skull pieces. There's stuff everywhere around. So yeah, I thought that the map was really great, and I did love how there was like all of these like things that you could scurry around the map and find. And of course, as you unlock more skills, it lets you get all these previously inaccessible, upgrades and power ups and stuff like that. It was just like some classic Metroidvania stuff, and I
Yeah.
was digging it.
No, for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
this game really nails it on the head. Like you have areas where, oh, there's a block I can't break yet. I know I'm gonna be able to break that later. I also love the map, how it shows you like where doors take you and all of that, and like where someone is like on another part of the map and all of that. Like it doesn't try to like uh like make things obscure, right? It doesn't try to obfuscate anything, right? It's like pretty clear. This is where you're kind of going, or this is what's available to you at the time, and what you could check out. And I like that. It's very
yeah,
clear and concise and informative. which is very nice to have for this kind of game. So, yeah.
It sounds so simple, but it's so important.
It is,
right?
yeah.
Like,
No, you're 100% right. And speaking of which, and this is something that there's a bunch of things in this game I'm interested on your opinion on whether or not you like them, because they are kind of almost against the formula a little bit. And one of the things I was thinking of, speaking of the map, were the teleporter heads. So what did you think about what did you think about that? Did you like having the ability to just like, be able to transport yourself to different areas instead of having to like backtrack all the way through, kind of Metroid style? You like that? Yeah, okay, same.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yes, thank you. Because I as much as backtracking is like something that's part of Metroid, but it's not something that I think is crucial. And as much as like I like that there's a little bit of backtracking in areas where it's obvious you can take a different path compared to the one you originally took, there are also times where I'm like, oh, I gotta haul my ass all the way back over to the left side of the screen from the right side. But thankfully, I talked to one of these heads, so I can just teleport a little closer. That I liked.
Yeah, I think that like fast travel is a pretty important part of a lot of Metroidvanias, because I mean, like, Castlevania uses fast travel frequently, all the time. So like, I would be surprised if like Metroid Prime 4 or whatever the next 2D Metroid is didn't have some form of fast travel. Because I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong, you can fast travel in Samus Returns, can't you?
Oh yeah.
Between between the games,
yeah,
I think you can.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I guess that it's becoming more of a modern thing. I know like the older Metroid games didn't really have that. I like that. And then the other thing was the shop, right? You're able to upgrade your health, your stamina, how much you collect from enemies, stuff like that. And there are ways to do that. Like there's a shop, I feel like, every 5 inches in this game. So like I was constantly upgrading all the time. I liked that. I liked being able to spend my money all the time, constantly upgrade my guy, and I that's something I want to see in Metroid too, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought that the shops were fine. Like, they were also the save points. So
they were also the
save
save point.
A lot of them.
I like that as well. And it wasn't like I had to do anything. There was no like 5-10 second wait. I got to stand there, wait for the save. It just, the candle comes up, boom, you saved, you're good. Here's a checkpoint. I'm like, thank you. This is nice and smooth. Love that.
Yeah, it was nice and smooth. Yeah, I thought it was fine. Like, I upgraded everything that there was to upgrade for like combos and suplexes, and I bought all the heart pieces and the skull pieces and stuff like that. Apparently I couldn't find out where to buy costumes, but the
same place.
I, like, upgraded everything.
The same place, as it turns out, just under costume instead of abilities. So yeah,
I don't know what I was doing. I would occasionally, one thing we should mention too about costumes is like you can actually play as all the boss characters, which is pretty cool.
I thought that was really cool. And then of course you can play as the little chicken, like the egg that's like your morph ball, which I thought was which was cool. I liked that.
Well, that's a good segue actually, because I wanted to talk about the items in this game and how like there's literally almost like a 1-for-1 for every single Metroid item in this game. Again, it doesn't sound like a luchador Mexican combat game would have a lot in common with Metroid, but like it really, really does, particularly the upgrades. So you get, over the course of your adventure, you get all of these different moves. Like you get the rooster uppercut, you get this headbutt, and you get this, I think they call it the derping dash or something like that.
The dash derp.
And yeah, the dash derp,
which is another bit of humor that is very much aged out by 2020.
Very much. And so these to me were actually kind of like stand-ins for like the different kind of missiles that you could get in Super Metroid, because they do functionally the same thing. They break different colored blocks. So when you get your rooster uppercut, you can break the red block, and in Metroid that would be like you get your missiles, you can take out the red door with them. You get your super missiles, you can take out the green door. So it was very like 1-for-1 almost with how that worked. At the same point, you can also turn into a rooster in this game, which is kind of awesome. And that basically serves as your morph ball. You eventually get little bomb, or like little egg bombs that you can lay when you're a rooster. So like there's your power bomb. And the goat fly ability is like basically the same thing as the shine spark. So there's like a lot of moves that are like ripped right from Metroid, and I think that that's pretty cool actually.
I agree, and they make sense too. I mean, the game so very clearly takes a lot like level design from Metroid that you kind of need the same abilities to traverse them, right? So like when you get your double jump, it makes sense. When you get that's the thing too, is going back to what I said earlier, is that you're saying they're like your different missiles, which is definitely true, but I love how they double as combat attacks and movement abilities. So you're not just using them to break blocks. You're using them to fight enemies. You're using them to maybe get up a little higher to reach a platform. That's what I love about this game. Like I was using that uppercut and all the time, and the frog splash. I think it's called the frog slam, and I'm like, this is a 5-star frog splash right here. And and the headbutt, which is cool. Like you mix all those things together, and they're not just like in Metroid. They're not just for opening up a door. You use them in combat as well, and you mix and match. That I loved, and honestly, I loved uppercutting stuff over and over and over again. I think the only thing that, the only upgrade I thought was not great was the dash that breaks the blue blocks, because it doesn't feel very satisfying. It feels like you don't go very far. And it's really just like a headbutt moving forward. Otherwise, I thought all the other upgrades were really cool and very satisfying to use. And yeah, they're very one-to-one to what Metroid offers, so you feel right at home using a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and like one of the only, I don't want to say original because that makes it sound like they ripped it off, and they didn't necessarily.
No.
I mean, they kind of did, but they repurposed it in a good way. But like one of the really cool like unique upgrades is like the ability, I think it's called oh, never mind. I can't even remember what it's called. Like the goat climb or something like that. Where you can, like,
the goat.
Literally just run up walls.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like almost like shine sparking, but now you can like go vertical up a wall. You can shine spark across. You can go up the wall, continuing, and like this uses stamina. And as long as you have stamina, you can like climb and climb and climb. And like there's some really cool hidden levels in this game that make really really great use of this. There's one in particular, Dak, and I'm wondering if you did this, where like in the, I think it's the tree level or the tree temple or whatever.
Yeah.
You can go, if you go back and you get the chicken bombs, you can unlock a little passageway up to like basically like a trial where like you have to use your goat climb and your goat fly extensively, and if you complete it, you get a secret orb.
I did not.
Did you ever check that out?
No, I didn't. I got to go back and do all that stuff.
It was absolutely insane, and it was so fun. It was like such awesome platforming. You have to be so precise with your movements and switching between the world of the light and the dead. It was so much fun. I had such a fun time doing it. Actually, so tell me if you did this too. I'm thinking probably not, but like, so there's 6 secret orbs that are hidden throughout the world. You get one of them when you beat the game, actually, and they make like a lucha mask. And when you get the lucha mask, that allows you to just like fly when you're a rooster. So I'm just like flying around.
I gotta go back and do that. There's some more of this game I haven't unlocked apparently.
It was pretty fun. Like now I'm never one. I'm just the rooster all the time, just laying bombs and flying around everywhere.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So yeah, it was fun, and like it was really hard to get those orbs too. Like a lot of like really really solid challenges. Like I mentioned earlier, you have to get 10 gold medals in El Inferno. You have to find a bunch of secret rooms. I think one of them is in Juan's house, and you do this like this kind of chicken maze or whatever. It sounds ridiculous, but it's really really fun. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Let's talk about the characters really quickly. Obviously, this wasn't meant to be like a story heavy game or anything like that, but I was curious about what you thought of like the story such as it is, the characters, etc., etc.
Oh yeah, no, I thought this game had some really cool characters. It's no literary classic or anything, right? But I think you have Juan, who clearly went through some stuff as a child. He seemed to have gotten punched in the face by an adult male was his backstory, I think, and becomes some kind of luchador and whatnot. I thought like the whole like the realms of the living and the dead coming together as the main bad guy is putting on like this ceremony using his main love interest and all of that, having his little like goons. It's all pretty standard kind of stuff. It's nothing that's kind of crazy. I think it's a pretty simple and by the books kind of story, and much of the uniqueness comes from like the the setting and the style of the game rather than like the plot. But like I said, I liked Flameface. I thought Flameface was cool, like the drunk flame guy. Obviously, the main.
He was awesome.
He was my favorite bad guy. He was cool, and yeah, I think the game for the most part like was pretty solid in terms of its characters. Like nothing too stand out, but all the characters really played their role. They were cool, endearing, and looked really awesome. So yeah, I mean, I think the character design was really, like the girl, the lady I was talking about, she had like the flowing hair that's like always like behind her, flowing and whatnot. Obviously, the main bad guy is like like a skull candy, like Day of the Dead looking kind of dude. So like that like is right in line with this kind of like the style and the aesthetic of the game. So yeah, I mean, it was really cool. I like playing as the main characters, and as you say, you can go back and play as the bosses too. I thought it was cool. I think they did a good job.
Yeah, there's some cool characters. I actually think the most uninteresting people were Juan and Carlos himself, like the main bad guy. I thought everyone else was like really funny for like the amount of story that they were given. There's like a ton of sexual innuendo as well with I think her name is Extabe, the long flowing hair.
I don't know about innuendo. She's pretty much straight up telling you, like, she's trying to seduce you.
Yeah, that's probably true. There's no innuendo.
Yeah, she's making it very clear. And there's also the right before her battle where she like gives you the yes or no option.
Say something about
and she's like, oh, like, come here, your big strong arms. I was like, yes. Immediately got punished.
Oh yeah, I said yes.
I was like, I'll still take the fate. I don't care.
I thought there was a really funny line too when like Carlos is sacrificing the girl and he's like this
sacrificial virgin.
Pure virgin or something. Yeah, she's like
about that.
See that kind of humor I thought was like really funny. But yeah, I thought that the characters were pretty cool. The one that stood out to me actually was Diablo, who has been turned into like this diabolical purple rooster, and like he's the devil, but like he's actually presented as like a pretty good guy and a nice businessman, and he's helping you out along your quest. And it was just funny to me to see like this purple rooster that was like the devil. I thought that was like very charming.
Yeah, and I like there are a lot of chickens in this game, which I'm always a big fan of chickens in games. There's like that one that always shows up to remind you to cling to a wall and just happens to be just like standing there right before you do that. I always thought that was funny. And obviously you turn into a chicken yourself. So I was a big fan of a lot of chickens in this game. I think the chicken ratio is pretty high in this one. I think that correlates with the quality of the game.
I agree with that. You know what? I said that I was out of critiques, but I do have one more minor critique.
Okay.
And that is I never really understood who like the female playable character was supposed to be. And maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but I never really understood who like she is, because she's presented as a different character than Juan. So I never really got her deal, other than just being like another playable character.
Isn't she's supposed to be like, from Juan's perspective, she's like a wrestling like guardian angel? That's what I got, because she kind of like
is that what it is?
I don't know. I could be wrong, but because she kind of like bestows Juan with his luchador powers in the beginning. So I kind of felt like, and she's always like, disappearing and reappearing and whatnot when she shows up. And you can play as her too. And I assume I played as Juan, but I assume if you play as her that, Juan fills her role in the other, the other way. But I'm not sure. I'd probably have to go back and do that. That being said, yeah, I gather that she's some kind of like wrestling guardian angel or some kind of wrestling spirit, right? Like she came down from the rafters and the rope broke, and now she gives luchadors their powers, right? So I guess I don't know if it's because, again, it wasn't something that I thought about too much. It was just like, oh yeah, she's a character, she gives me powers, it's a video game, whatever. I didn't even think about it too much, but yeah, I guess it wasn't very. If it was clear, I guess I didn't pick up on it. I was too busy suplexing stuff. I mean, you can suplex stuff in this game. I was pretty focused on that, so I might have missed.
She just kind of shows up, and I was just like, oh yeah, her. Like, who is she again? Whatever.
It's like a wrestling spirit, right? The spirit of wrestling, the squared circle, or whatever.
I guess so. You know what? I do wish also that like throughout the entire time that you play this game, it has the option to like. If you press A, player 2 can join, player 3 can join, player 4 can join. It's like very arcadey, and like on one hand, it makes me kind of nostalgic for that, but on the other hand, I'm like, dude, I wish that this would just kind of go away. Like, I don't want to look at this like all the time.
I agree. But I agree with that. I think if like I wanted to play this game with people, but at the same time, if I'm not going to do that, I don't need the 2-player, 3-player, 4-player flashing up on the top of the screen the whole game. I agree.
Yeah. Dak, did you get the good ending or the bad ending?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, the good ending is Juan and Frey is the main girl's name.
Yeah.
The good ending is the two of them get married.
And the bad ending,
I think the bad ending is she just like dies.
I don't remember. Now I just played it too. I don't think we got married. I don't know. Oh no.
Oh, you know what? I think I'm wrong actually. I don't think Frey is her name. It's Lapita is her name.
Isn't Frey another character though?
You know what? I think that Frey is the woman that we were just talking about, the second playable character.
Oh, that's Frey? Okay.
Yeah, I think I got my wires crossed there, but yeah. So there you go. There's a good ending and a bad ending to this game, and if you collect all the mask pieces, then you get married to.
Okay,
to
I didn't
Lapita,
get married, so I don't think I got the good ending.
I got married, so I guess I got the good ending.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, and you know what? It was a good ending, I think, with this game. I had a lot of fun playing this. I wouldn't say that it was my favorite Metroidvania game that we've covered, but I wouldn't say that it was. I liked it better than some of the other ones that we've played. And I liked it better than a lot of Metroidvanias that I've played. So like, I think that this game is like really solid in everything that it does, and like in the platforming aspect is really great. But it never dips below being like a really solid experience for me. It kind of feels like, it almost feels like how like this is the origin story almost, and now that we've got this established, like the sequel is gonna like really blow our socks off because it's got nothing holding it back now. That's kind of my takeaway from Guacamelee, and I think that I'm gonna get the second one for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna go pick that up. I'm gonna see. I don't think it's on sale, but the original Guacamelee, the Super Turbo Championship Edition, on Steam right now. If you're a PC gamer, I mean, Guacamelee 2 is $4 on Steam. I'm literally, as we're recording this, I just pulled up Steam. I'm buying it right now. It's until January 5th. Both games are 80% off. I mean,
that's crazy.
Even if this isn't like you got to pick it up. I mean, you could buy both games for $6, $7. I mean, you got to do it. I just hit purchase for myself. My PayPal account, continue buying, purchase, agree to the terms, purchase, install. I'm doing it right now. That's how much I love this game. I really can't gush enough about how much I liked this game. It was so fun. It's my favorite Metroidvania that I've played so far in this series. I think it's my favorite Metroidvania game I've played besides like a Metroid game, right? Like this is I really, really like this game. If you're a Metroidvania fan, I think you really like this. If you're a fighting game player or a Smash player, you'll absolutely love this game. It speaks to that immediately, and I can't wait to play Guacamelee 2. I can't recommend this game enough. They did an absolutely fantastic job. I'm very disappointed that I haven't played it until today, this weekend, but I'm glad I have, and I can't wait to play the second one. I really love this game, and I really hope everyone gets to play it. So go get it.
There you go. Yeah, I even for someone like me who like wasn't as in love with it, I'm not like a fighting game guy. I don't like combat as much. Even that being said, the combat is still fun enough where like even if you just want to explore, you can still have fun like suplexing people and just throwing people around and stuff like that. I can't recommend it enough actually. It's very, very charming. It's very charming, and it never dips below an incredibly solid adventure, and for the price, it's an absolute steal. There you go. Guacamelee, man, and shout out to Mr. Colin Bartol over on Twitter who suggested that we do this. So we did, and we loved it. So thanks for the suggestion, Colin.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for introducing. Well, I already knew about this game, and I'm so lazy, and I can't believe it took me this long to play it. But I'm glad that we got this suggestion. And if you're listening to this and it hasn't convinced you, we haven't convinced you to play this game yet, I don't know what will, but I really recommend checking it out. The developers, I don't really know who they are, but whoever it is, y'all killed it. And I, where's Guacamelee 3? Is all I'm saying. Where's Juan in Smash?
I'm sure that it's probably coming at some point. Hopefully,
that would be cool.
But yeah, there it is, Guacamelee on Inspired by Metroid. I'm actually going to start playing our next inspired by Metroid game later tonight. So I don't want to give that away yet, but it's going to start soon. And I'm going to start playing another Metroid game here pretty quick for our next edition of Mapping Metroid. We have a ton of really good stuff coming down the pipe here. We've got, finally, we're going to dip into the world of speed racing. We're going to be back with Mapping Metroid. We're going to look at some other Metroid theories, because everyone seemed to have a really strong opinion about the last Metroid theory that we did. And then we're going to start our definitive ranking series, and you can hear a little bit more about that in the coming weeks. And to top that all off, we are going to do another Metroid fan Q&A, and then, of course, the big one for our 1-year anniversary. We're going to have a ton of other M content for you. I can't believe that we made an entire episode without Dak pooping all over other M, so I can't wait for that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of great stuff coming down the pipe.
I can ease. You want me to quickly launch on Other M right now? Because I totally can. But no, hey, good. That being said, Other M at least has, because one correlation to Guacamelee. Other M has those cool finishing moves, which I really hope continue to show up in Metroid games. So that's the one thing I like about that game. That's the one thing I'll always like about that game, is I can DDT a space pirate or whatever. And that makes me feel really good. So I hope that comes through. Metroid, please take some cues from Guacamelee. I want to give Ridley a suplex. I want to give him a fisherman's carry off the top rope. And, and really let me go ham with what I've learned from watching wrestling since I was, give me a baseball bat. Give me Jeff Jarrett's guitar. Give me something I want. I would love more combat. I know you aren't the biggest fan of this kind of combat. It's not really your thing, but I love it, and I would love to see more of that influence come into Metroid and give me a little more of that close quarters or creative combat at any range. So, yeah, looking forward. I'm actually going to say I'm looking forward to talking about Other M in the future, because I can't wait to dookie on that game, but at least it does have one redeemable quality.
There you go. Dak likes Other M. That's all I heard.
That's what you got.
That's all anyone else needed to hear. All right, we are going to get out of here. Actually, you know what? Before we get out of here, Dak, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who has the better frog splash? Rob Van Dam, Eddie Guerrero?
RVD has the best frog splash. RVD has the best frog. No, Eddie has a great frog splash, and actually a bunch of people do too. But RVD has a really good frog splash because distance. Right? He got the farthest out of anybody, I think. I think the only one who's really rivaled him in terms of distance is he can spin midair and really hit and he sold it the best too. He sold it as if it was death. So, best one.
Well, there you go. Thank you for listening to the Omega Metroid podcast. Again, we are going to be we'll try and make up last week's snafu sometime soon. Of course, we want you to check us out over on Twitter at Omega Metroid Pod, at Spiteri316, and at DaxCity_. And check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review if you think we've earned it. We'd really appreciate that. And that is it. That's all. We hope that you guys have an awesome and safe New Year's. And we can't wait to see you back in 2021. And we will see you then. Take care.